Hey, what's good? Happy New Year. It's your boy MC. Welcome to part 2 of our episode Freedom featuring Anasa Troutman. We're going to pick it right back up with our Dennis Kucinich cliffhanger. I hope you guys enjoy. This episode is brought to you by audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/vocal report. That's audibletrial.com/vocal report for your free audiobook download and 30-day trial. Here's the show.
Previously on the Vocal Minority.
Are you part of the silent majority? Or are you part of the vocal minority?
Motherfuckers, go! Attention, please!
If America can be saved, and I don't know if it's too late, but it'll be through a radio show like this new kind.
This shit here feels like a whole entire world collapse.
The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers.
It's the vocal minority.
The revolution will be
But
live.
but you know, they ain't gonna say dope stuff just because they're black.
Right, yeah, no, right. That you're exactly right. I mean, because
You're gonna upset me. Now I have to sit back down.
Okay, well, you know what? That's
I gotta sit down.
That's fine. You know, I'm about to make you happy though, because watch this. Because we're gonna stay on politics, but I'm gonna ask you to talk about Dennis Kucinich.
Oh, Dennis.
See.
Oh, Dennis. You know, Dennis Kucinich changed my life, like in a real way.
So I know who he is because I liked him way when he was running for president, whatever that was. That's how his name. That's how I know who he is.
Yeah.
So could you give us some background on who he is and then your relationship to and with him?
Mm-hmm. So Dennis, so can I tell a story that might take a little bit longer than you wanted to?
It's your show, your world. Do your thing.
So, you know, I had a label when I was young, and I had, you know, all these artists, and I was like, really, honestly, like, I didn't want to start a label. What I really wanted to do was start an art collective, because you know, like I said, the way my parents raised me, I actually believe that art is our salvation, and creativity is our salvation, particularly as Black people, but, like, for everyone. And I started this artist collective because I was in college and I was like super like if you look up the word Pollyanna in the dictionary, you'll probably read my picture there, because I was super like, everyone's gonna come together and we're gonna love each other and we're gonna save the world, like, let's go. And I found out that the world was not like that, and I found out that everybody didn't have my optimism and my excitement about social change and about the power of art. And I ended up quitting the music industry for a lot of reasons that we don't have time to go into. That's a whole nother episode. And
Okay.
I quit the industry. I was like heartbroken, and I felt betrayed in a lot of ways, and I also was very disillusioned by the music and entertainment world, because I found out that people in the music industry, the people who run the music industry, are really treacherous. Like, that, those stories that people hear about the way the music industry is those stories are true, and sometimes the stories are worse than you think they are.
Oh wow, okay.
And that, like, and me, you know, I've talked already today about like how shy I was and how meek I was and how afraid I was of everyone and how I did not know how to stand up for myself, and I didn't know how to manage myself in a Shark Tank. And so I quit the music industry and I went to New York, and I just like hung out and dated a guy who was a total jerk, and just like had a total, like, I'm opting out of life for now. I can't take it. I'm out. I'm going to go sit myself down somewhere, and that's going to be what it is. So I got a call one day from a friend of mine who I knew from my days in the music industry, because I would like promote these shows, and he would come to my shows, and he was like my friend, and he called me one day and he said, you know, what you used to do for those artists in Atlanta, it's a guy running for president, and I want you to do the same thing for him. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Because at the time, I had never even voted before. And I was like, I don't believe in politics. I don't believe in voting. I think the electoral system is broken. I think that politicians are full of crap. I think that they don't have my best interests at heart. They don't share my spiritual views. They don't share, like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going and spending my time and my energy in supporting somebody who I don't believe in. And he was like, I'm telling you, like, this guy, you will love this guy. He's not like everybody else. He's so you. I'm telling you, you'll love him. Just come to California. Just come for a day. Just meet him, hear him speak, and I promise you, you will not regret it. And I was like, okay, because he was my friend. And I was like, I'm going to do this because you're asking me and you're my friend. But I'm telling you, I'm going to come home and I'm going to tell you no, because I don't believe in this. And coincidentally, the man who was on that phone call with me, his name is Reverend Sekou. And he now, after 20 years of organizing and being like the most brilliant speaker I've ever met, has now started to make music. And I executive produced a record for him in January called, the band is called Reverend Sekou and the Holy Ghost. And it's like the craziest record on earth. And he's like, if you ever saw the pictures in Ferguson of the preacher who got arrested for praying in the street,
right?
Or the picture of Jesse Jackson and Ferguson and the preacher who's looking at him crazy. That's Reverend Sekou.
Okay.
And he's like one of my best friends. He's now a client also, and he's a brilliant, brilliant man and a brilliant musician. So go check him out. So anyway, so I went to California, and I went to this thing in Oakland, and I had never been to Oakland before, so I didn't understand like the social and political context in Oakland. And we went into this center with a stage, and what they had done was they put Dennis on stage with community active, and they had one activist for every issue. So if you're not an organizer, you don't work in politics, there's like social justice issues like housing, like criminal justice, like LGBT rights. Like they have somebody up there for every issue that people work on in the social justice world. It's actually the first day I ever met Van Jones, because at the time he was an organizer in Oakland, and he was one of the people on stage, and I think he was the one talking about criminal justice, but I can't remember what he was talking about. But that's beside the point. The point is, Dennis sat in the middle of that stage for 2 hours and answered every question that all those folks had for him, and they answered them in the way that made me feel proud and made me feel hopeful, made me feel loving and warm, and like gave me hope that I had not had in 2 years from leaving Disparage, the music world.
Oh, wow.
And he was using language that I use. He was talking about love. He was talking about community. He was talking about connection. He was talking about his spirituality. He was like, like if I was an old white man running for president, I would have been Dennis Kucinich. And I was like, whoa. Whoa. And it made me be like, whoa, there are people in the world who actually believe in what I believe in and who actually want to see the world change and share my vision for the planet. Holy crap. And one of them is running for president. Because, of course, I know people like that, but they're like my parents and my parents' friends.
Right, of course.
So, like, to meet someone who was doing all that, and he was, like, actually running for the highest office in the land was activated me in a way I had never been activated before. So I obviously took the job and moved to California for a year and like did what I did for the artist for him. So my job, my friend Sekou was the head of new constituents for the campaign, because Dennis's base was like very, very white progressive. So it was a lot of progressive white wealthy women from Marin County in California. That was like his primary base. And so they were trying to diversify his base so we can get more support. And Sekou was the head of new constituents, and my job was to get him in front of young people and people of color, which, by the way, is a term that I try not to use because I don't want to be defined by the fact that I'm not white. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay, because I use that a lot. So, yeah, okay, interesting.
I'm on a rampage right now because now everybody gets to say whatever they want to say. So what I have to say is I don't like the term people of color because I feel like defining all people who are not white by the fact that they're not white is ridiculous. Like, what are you talking? Like, really, every person who's not white now is in this little box called people of color. What does that even mean? Like, what is the only thing that people, quote unquote, people of color have in common is that they're not white.
Right. Okay. So, is there an alternative you want to use, or you don't want to draw any distinction?
Well, I've been just calling, like, saying black, brown, Asian, Latinx. Like, I've just been calling people out whatever they are. Like, Because, I mean, if you think black people are not on my list, all people of color are certainly not on my list.
Right, but
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I think that, like, I use it for two reasons. I use it, one, because sometimes people, like, sometimes I'm hyper conscious of being inclusive in my speech, especially on this show, and I, and because I am worried about the plight and marginalization of all non-whites. So, but obviously with a special focus on the ones who look like me more specifically. But so, and so I think I use it like that. And then I use it as just also, I feel like we do have that one thing in common, and there is a common through line. Now, yes, we certainly, people of color are not a monolith, as we've discussed, but there is a through line. But if it doesn't matter if you're a non-white in these United States, and hell, white people know it too, but well, the reasonable and smart ones do. But I feel like that distinction is there, like that through line of being a minority or marginalized, and then obviously there's levels to it.
That's another word I don't use.
Which one, marginalized or minority?
Minority.
Well, you're on the vocal minority report, but no. So
well, that's different. That's a different conversation.
Right. Well, no. Well, and I only use it in the context of the show. Honestly, I mean that's not because you don't like the term, but really, I only use it in the context of the show, and really, it's really more of obviously it's a double entendre anyway. It's not exclusive to race, and which annoys me when people do that. Like I've had guests, they're like, well, the title of your show. I'm like, what are you talking about? Exactly. It has nothing to do with black people. Anyway, but go ahead. So.
Right. I mean, I think that we need to evaluate the way that we think about society and social constructs. And I think that it's important that we use words like white supremacy and like colonialism and like imperialism. I think that those are words that we need to use, and we need to be clear.
Patriarchal. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
I think that we can be clear about the ways that humanity has been violated without lumping all the violated into one sack. Because I think that is a further violation.
Right. Okay. No, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I don't know how we got here talking about percentage.
I don't know, but anyway, so Dennis, right? So Dennis, redid his marketing, redid his branding, took him on a hip hop tour, and took him to all these hip hop.
Is that why I liked him? Because I'm really.
Did I do that?
Well, because it's so funny because I honestly liked. Like I remember one back when Tim Russert was alive, obviously, and he was on Meet the Press. I remember Kucinich on there. I mean, obviously not just one time, but a few times, and his message. And so I wonder. I can't remember when I first heard about him, but I wonder how deep you were in the campaign at that point.
Anybody with whom Bernie Sanders' message resonated with would have resonated with Dennis Kucinich. Dennis is just a calmer, less, colorful.
I wasn't into Bernie Sanders. Can I be honest?
Really?
Like I never.
Can we talk about that?
It wasn't like I was against Bernie Sanders, but I was never like, oh wow, like yay! Like I never. But that could just be me. But he never. None of them really moved me. So I should be honest there. But
right, that's a whole other conversation. So I think that like Dennis was the kind of candidate who was like, if we're going to have a Department of Defense, we need to have a Department of Peace, and we need to have cabinet position of somebody who was looking out for peace.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of dude he was. He was like just super progressive, like really doing his best to be able to honor all people and to create space in our country for all people and for the freedom and liberation and success of all people. That's just what he was doing. And I'm not saying he did it right all the time and he got it right every time, but I'm saying that was his intention. And
we should say, you may have done this, but he's a former mayor of Cleveland and was in the House of Representatives.
He was a long-term congressman. And that was everything about him that impressed me was like, he's not just a guy who says what I say, but he's actually been in politics for like 1,000 years.
Right. He's a 70-year-old white man who gets it, as opposed to the 70-year-old white man who's going to take office.
Right. He's like the complete opposite, except for the fact that there's old white men.
Right.
A whole nother conversation, right? So And the thing about Dennis that really impacted me was not all those things, because that just was my entry point into politics. But the thing that really changed me was being able to interact with him and his campaign in a creative way and like express myself artistically and culturally in that political space, and to be able to see the impact that I had on that campaign, and realize that what I wanted to do was to be able to impact social change with art, and I didn't have to work with artists to do that. I could actually do that myself directly in the political space, and that is what changed the game for me. And I dove head into the political and organizing space because I realized the power that I had as a creative.
Okay.
To be able to make change. And I didn't have to, because when I had a label, my idea was, well, if I have 5 artists and they all sell 1 million records, then I can have impact on 5 million people, because I'm, helping to feed the culture through them. I'm helping to shape who they are. I'm curating my artist roster and helping them curate their music based on my values and my vision, and I can impact the world that way. But when I went into the political space, I figured out that I could impact policy and community practice direct without having to go through those artists and having to deal with the treachery of the music industry and having to be someone who I wasn't, because at the time, like I said, I was so scared and I could not overcome the hurdles to be able to be powerful in that space in the way I needed to be in order to create change in the world. But in the political space, it was the exact opposite. I was completely free, completely open, completely like directly impacting conversations, and it was like a life changer for me. It changed everything for me. It changed my path, my life path, my career path, my relationships. It changed everything.
That's amazing that, moving from music and having your own thing, especially your own label at such a young age, and that mindset to move to politics of all things, to be a catalyst for changing, and I guess that's a real testament to Kucinich. When I saw his name in relation to you, I was excited, because I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? Like, she was, because he's the name that I bring up. I'm like, hey, well, this is a guy we should have, like, whatever happened to, and I guess it must have been back with him in 04 with Carrie is when I first saw him, and then. Okay, so I'm curious, obviously he didn't make it, in 04, and then in 08 there was this juggernaut you may or not have heard of named Barack Obama. So
I have heard of him.
Okay, right, yeah, right. So that guy, and so when your candidate loses, like, what do you, like, how do you feel at that point? So I'm just curious, especially the connection you had with him, and knowing that he, everything that he meant to you and could mean for our country and people, all the groups we spoke about. It doesn't matter how we categorize them or whatever. I'm just curious, that loss, and how did that feel? For personally, when you're so vested. I'm angry and a little whatever, but I don't really care that much about Hillary per se. So, but more about myself and our country and people who look like us. But for you. Being so vested, I'm just curious, how that felt when it was over, when he was not going to be the nominee.
I wasn't upset that he didn't win. I didn't have any emotion about it because I never had an expectation that he was going to win.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Because I was like in the main campaign. You know what I'm saying? I was there, and there was no way that he was going to win. He was never going to win. Like, that wasn't, like...
So why do it then?
People in the campaign thought that, but, like, for me, I was like, no, this is not what we're doing. The thing that being said, when the campaign was over, I was pissed off. I was, like, so mad, but I wasn't mad at America. I was mad at Dennis.
Okay, so...
Because he spent a lot of time, like, the campaign spent a lot of time, like, pushing up this, like, we're going to win, we can still do it. And I'm looking at them like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, there's no way. This guy is a vegan, and he's single, and he's talking about a Department of Peace. And, like, we're talking about, like, 2004. This is, like, you know what I mean? So,
right.
Like, if this wasn't, like, this was, like, the level of progressive discourse that we have right now is like it was nothing back then. It was like the people in the office. That's who was talking about this stuff.
right. I got you.
And what I really wanted from Dennis, I wanted him to acknowledge that what he wasn't doing was trying to win it. Even if he did that in public, like, of course we're gonna win because you got to do that. You're a candidate. You got to present to the world that you're working to win. But the strategy would have been for me like. So we know that it's not likely that we're going to win. And if we do win, that's going to be fantastic. We're ready to lead, of course. But the real thing was like, how do we use this moment to build progressive infrastructure on the ground around the country? Because then you have something to build on for the next time. But that's not what they did. Like, they just were like campaigning like everybody else. And I'm like, that's not how you change. You can't change anything systemically by campaigning. You have to do it by building infrastructure, by being in the space, by being consistent, by sharing your values, by bringing people into the fold. By what are you doing? You're like wasting millions of dollars and everybody's time trying to act like you're finna win. You're not about to win, but what you could do is have a long game where we would win.
Okay.
We all would win. You know what I'm saying? And so when I just was so like, man, really, is this what we're doing? And this other thing that I learned is that politics is very much like the music industry, and politicians are very much like artists. And so that was the other thing, is I was super comfortable in the space because I'm like, oh, I know these people. But because of the campaign I was in, like, the conversation about values and treachery and all that didn't exist because of the candidate. Because every campaign's culture is built around the candidate. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if Donald Trump is an asshole, then that's the culture of his campaign.
Right.
Kucinich was a beautiful, honest, kind, gentle, vegan man from the Midwest. So the culture of the campaign was built around that, and so there was safety, even though I was encountering things that were familiar to me, and even though I was encountering things that I didn't agree with in terms of strategy, I was still like, this is still a place where I feel like I belong, where I feel like I have a voice, where I feel like I can express myself, and where I feel like I'm working with people who believe in the stuff I believe in.
Okay. So what did you think when he decided to run again in 2008 then? And because I can't, because obviously people who pay attention or want to pay attention, we think, why are you running for office, wasting people's money and time?
But it wasn't, though, because what I did see, because it's so funny, because when India when It Could Go came out, India opened on tour for Sade, and I went on that tour. And 2 years later, Dennis Kucinich ran for president, and I ended up on tour again, and like the same thing was happening. Like the parallel that I can draw between India and Dennis touring with the both of them is funny to me, because what I saw was like, we would go on tour, we would be at a Sade show, we'd be in an arena. So of course, and it's Sade, so everybody, it's Sade.
Right.
So it's like everyone is checking for her. And the next day in the papers, the reporters would be talking about India.
Okay.
Sade was dope, but did you see that girl India? She did this and she did that, and she was. I watched her influence the conversation that was happening on a national scale in the music scene because of who she was being on stage, just being herself and being different and being like India. The same thing when we would go to the debates with Dennis. And of course, like, no one's checking for him because it's Dennis Kucinich. Like, who even knows who you are? And you are a weirdo. So just go and get behind your thing and just do whatever.
We want to look at Chris Dodd be awkward, right. And right.
But the next day, people will be talking about Dennis, and I also watched him over time shift the conversation on the debate stage to the left.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because he was saying stuff that people couldn't argue with it. Because he was, not only did he have like the values, but he also was really smart in the way that he talked about his positions. Like, you could not argue with him. And he was like totally clean. He had no skeletons, no bones in his closet, no nothing. So nobody could touch him. And so the people on the stage, the people who were like centrists or whatever, the Democratic folks, they had to like they started to take on his arguments. They started to take on his talking points. And so I watched him shift the political discourse in the Democratic Party to the left through the course of those debates. And it was astounding to me. So like to me, Dennis didn't lose. Dennis won because what he wanted to do to have his values out in the world. I think that he could have been more effective had he just been more honest internally. And maybe he wasn't. I just wasn't privy to it because, I'm not like, I was in the office, but I wasn't like his boy or nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Maybe that was the conversation, but I didn't see it in the strategy. I didn't see that conversation manifest in the way that the campaign was moving and in the way that the campaign continued afterwards. Because, what Barack Obama did with the infrastructure that he built, the organizing infrastructure he built, how they tried to keep it going for the whole time. Like, if Dennis had built a long-term infrastructure based on the campaign that he ran, we would be having a different conversation.
Okay.
Because that's what we need. We need like a broad-based movement for progressive values in this country if we're gonna transform the country and the planet the way that we're talking about. And not that we've said explicitly what we want to see, but I have a feeling that you and I share some values and some visions. So I'm saying,
right.
Assuming that we have that in common, the kind of planet that we want to see, the kind of world we want to see. If Dennis had started that conversation in a real systemic way in 2004, we would be having a different conversation today.
No, I agree. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, all that makes sense.
And I think that the evidence of that is that that's what happened with the Tea Party. They were like a kooky fringe group of people who people were like, y'all tripping, y'all need to sit down. But what they did was they started to build an infrastructure, and they started to influence and encourage and encompass people by talking about their values. Now, I don't agree with those values. That's what they did because that's what people connect to. People don't connect to white papers. People don't connect to campaign slogans. People connect to values. We're humans. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are human beings, and we want to be acknowledged, we want to be loved, we want to be taken care of and comforted. And if somebody says something to us that makes sense to us and that resonates with us and that acknowledges a place where we feel unseen or unheard or disrespected, then that's what we respond to. That's what we're just like, we're people. You know what I'm saying? And those folks were super patient and also very assertive what they wanted to do. And now Donald Trump is president.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot disconnect those conversations. And all I'm saying is, had Dennis done that, had Dennis been less focused on winning an election and more focused on building long-term infrastructure for progressive values in America, we would be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Especially, yeah, you're exactly right. That's really great and interesting perspective, having lived inside a campaign, one that was not successful, but then having a true leader, with some values. I like that. Okay, so leaving the political spectrum and shifting to, let's talk about art and music, because you just mentioned there that art is our salvation, or you believe that art is our salvation, and I heard you say you're being interviewed. And you said that, I'll get most of it right, I'll paraphrase here a little bit, but you said that the evolution and the creation of African-American music over time, since Black people first got to this country, mimics and mirrors the evolution of who we are as people here in this country, our ability to create something from nothing and withstand pressure, violence, etc., issues with self-worth, that when you take on someone else's idea of who you are, music has the power to break through that. I heard you say that. You did say that.
That is so smart. Oh my God.
Right.
That's amazing.
And you said it much better. I mean, I'm reading it. Yeah. I typed it. I typed a summary of what you said because I got tired of going back, and my shorthand is poor. Yeah. But most of that is a full-fledged quote of your words there. And it spoke to me when I heard you say that. So I was wondering if you could speak more to that there.
Well, I really believe that. I do. So I think that, like, creating, when you're in your full creativity, I believe that is like the closest to God that you can get. because for me, God is really about creation. And really about.
I guess he is the ultimate creator, right? So yes.
I mean, I wouldn't call God a he, but that's fine. I think
oh my God! Come, you're killing me on the. Okay, I'm gonna have to change. I'm sorry. Yes.
I think that
my apologies.
Is important, and I think that you don't have to apologize. No, I just feel like it's important for me to say that.
I gotta rock my pronoun game is way off when I talk to you. I gotta step my pronoun game up. Okay.
I think that God is constantly in creation.
Right. Okay.
And I think that the closest way for us to embody that energy is to create. I think that is what we're here for, and I think that part of that feeling of not feeling free is about not feeling like you're allowed to express yourself and create in the way that is liberating to you as a being. You know what I mean? And I love this conversation. And I feel like for those of us who want to see the world be different, our creativity is our most valuable asset, because what we actually want to see is a world that does not exist and has never existed. Like, our vision is like of something that has not happened yet. And that's what artists do. Artists take an idea that has never existed and they pull it through the veil into reality.
Okay.
And that is the job of the people who are fighting and who are toiling and who are praying and who are working and who are imagining a new way of being. To me, are artists, whether they have a paintbrush or a saxophone or they knock doors, like
podcast.
Me, like, if you can, or have a podcast like that, And I feel like the colonization of creative expression and like the conversation that art is a certain thing, or that artists are a certain group of people is one of the biggest crimes against humanity, because everybody has the capacity to create, because it's like our divine right. You know what I mean? And like my creation might not look like a Picasso, but it doesn't make me not an artist. It doesn't make my creation any less valuable. I was at this meeting one time at the White House. It was like right after President Obama got elected. And it was like, I mean, if looking back on it, like at the time it was super exciting because who gets invited to the White House?
Right.
But like looking back, it was like totally like not anything. Not because it wasn't exciting, but because like the impact of the meeting feels like it was nothing. So it was like we did all that for nothing, except for to say we got to go to the White House.
Oh, okay.
So there was a guy, what is this guy, Wendell Pierce?
Yeah,
Wendell Pierce, the actor?
Of course. He's Bunk from The Wire. He's on The Odd Couple.
What?
Yeah.
So he came. He was at the meeting, and he said something so profound, and I've been quoting him ever since. He said, we were talking about creativity, and he was like, so many people lose the importance of creativity because they focus on the art. And if you can look at art as a residue of creative practice, and you focus on the creative practices, that is where you will find gold. Because
residue of the look at art as the residue of creative practice. Is that what you just said? Is that what he said?
Yes.
Whoa.
Is that mind-blowing or what?
Wow. See, listen, I fancy myself an artist, so that moves, wow, okay.
So if you like the power of being in creative process is where the juice is when you're talking about art. Like some people's songs turn out like Michael Jackson, and some people's songs are a piece of crap. But the process of creating and expressing and digging deep and being vulnerable and like it's not only healing to your own physical body and your own spiritual body and your own emotional body, but it also is actually changing the world. It's like actually making the world different when you're in creative practice. And Black people, I mean, like our impetus to change the world is so fierce, and it's so deep, and it's so visceral. Like imagine, like what that must look like if you could like see energy. Like imagine, what creativity looks like for a being and for a group of people who so desperately want to see a different world and a different life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like how and it's almost like you know, when I heard someone talk about this the other day. I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about how like Black people, African Americans in particular, so folks whose families were raised here and they come from they have a generational history of slavery, right? So folks whose families were enslaved and they grew up here and their
Right.
families, blah blah blah, right? So those people in particular, us in particular, we didn't have any cultural boundaries because we didn't get to bring our culture with us, right? So, like, if you're like a fifth generation Irish person and you're in connection with your history and your culture, then you have a cultural context within which to create. But if you're an African American person, like, we made up our cultural context, and we're still making up our cultural context. We weren't allowed to bring our generational heritage with us. We weren't allowed to bring our ancestral culture with us. And so, like, the freedom that gives you, like, as tragic and as harmful and as painful and as violent as it is to not be able to connect with your ancestral history and culture, on the other side of that is the freedom to be anything you want to be, because there's no rules. And so, like, the combination of the impetus to create and to change and to survive and to have, like, something to hold on to and to be able to express your anger and your pain, your frustration, your hope, your dreams, and all that, combined with the fact that we didn't have any rules, it's, like, made us, I mean, I would argue, the most generative, creative group of people on the planet. And because our history has been so dynamic and the changes that we've been through have been so dynamic, particularly in the last 100 years, like, you add that dynamic and the way that things have changed and evolved and grown and gone back and conflated and expanded and contracted, like, add all that dynamic, all the creative process, and the having cultural rules and the impetus to change and to see a new world, like, who does that?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's like powerful, and it's like, you know, it's our story. It's who we are. It's like who we're becoming at every moment, and you know how we find our freedom and how we express our longing for freedom and all of those things.
I'm glad I asked the question because that's not necessarily something that I would have drawn out of it from an artistic standpoint, comparing it to us being here and not really having those boundaries, and how that is a positive thing for our expression.
I wish I could remember who I heard having that conversation so I could credit them, but I really don't remember who it was. But I just thought it was so profound, and it totally impacted the way I see things. And the other thing is, I've been working with this man who was working on a movie about neo soul, which is a bit problematic for me because it's not a term that I ever ascribe to. But that's my own stuff. We can talk about that's a whole nother.
All right, let me delete that question because that was.
No, don't delete it. We can talk about it.
No,
but it's like we have been having this conversation about, like, why that movement happens, whatever you want to call it. And there's, like, you know, a person he was working with that was like, it was because Bill Clinton passed this law around whatever, and it made it so it was harder for people to get music out, and the people had to be, and I'm like, that we didn't know that.
Right.
We were, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're artists, we're creatives. We were not in a political conversation.
You weren't reading the policy.
No, we were not reading. You know, our art policy. We were not reading communications policy. We were not talking about broadband. Like, that's not our conversation. We were trying to get free. Like, we were it was an age of, like, Puffy and Little Kim, and I wanted to make sure that my sister had somebody to look at besides Little Kim. Like, I wanted my sister to be free. India wanted to get free. She had something that she wanted to say. Kyrie wanted to get free. Donnie had something to say. He wanted to liberate all Black people, himself included. And he's who made the album The Color Section. If that album is not about freedom, I don't know what is.
Right.
We just was trying to get, you know what I'm saying? So I find that, like, you know, there is a way that art looks and sounds if you are doing it for aesthetic or you're doing it like for entertainment. The way that it sounds, if you're just trying to get free.
And I guess that's in effect what Black people have been doing the whole time, trying to get free.
Since we got here.
Right, since we got here. Trying to get free, right. That's, wow. Wow.
So like a hymn sung by a group of people who are cool is different, sounds different than a hymn from a group of people who are trying to get free.
Correct. No doubt. Yeah, that pain, no doubt. Wow, yeah, I say pain, but whatever that is, it's pain. A lot of other things.
All of it is
manifest.
It is pain, but it's a whole bunch of other stuff in there too.
Right. No, for sure.
That's what makes it so. That's what makes it so dynamic. If it was just pain, and we wouldn't listen to it because it would be too much. It's like that's too heavy and too depressing. I can't do it. But there's other stuff mixed in with that pain. There's other stuff in there that makes it interesting. That makes it like hook into your heart and makes you get stuck and makes you want to consume it and to recreate it and to remix it and create your own thing. Like it's just like, it's like the human experience.
Yeah, no, right. So, okay, well, and that's a good, okay, so that's a good segue to be more musically and talk about your full entree into, well, music, I guess, from your label and then to meeting India. I'm sure you're asked this all the time, so I don't know if you're cool with talking about your meeting her and all that, but because I'm curious, do you know who Brian Koppelman is by any chance? It's not important if you do or not, but he's co-creator, executive producer of a show on Showtime called Billions, but he wrote like the movie Rounders, and he's done a lot of he's done a lot of stuff in Hollywood, but he also discovered Tracy Chapman. I mean, obviously she was already doing her thing in Boston as a college student, but right. he's the one that he met her. He tells the story on an episode with Mark Maron, but that's
my boy.
Yeah, so
listen, you know what? You're my people. You listen to Denzel and WTF. You are my people.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, See, I'm glad we connect, right? But yeah, no, don't forget Fresh Air. No, I told you about Shonda. Listen. Don't forget Fresh Air.
You did.
Yeah. So, but
Gross.
Right, yeah.
Terry Gross is a beast out here on y'all.
Oh my, she is the, and to bring it full circle, she was on Denzel with come on, I mean she's so the fact that they had her.
Did you hear Terry Gross get interviewed by Mark Maron?
Is Fat Meat Greasy? Of course I did. Shit. I mean, shoot.
That episode
of course.
Gave me so much joy. And then when she was on Denzel Washington's Grace, I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it was right. That was as someone who talks to people and loves public radio and loves. Yes. I mean, she is what she does and has done for all this time is so amazing and
parallel.
It's so. I listened to her. Because of the archives, I listened to her interview David Letterman like in 1981 the other day.
Oh wow!
And it was so amazing because obviously David Letterman in 1981 is way different than David Letterman in 2016, and so was Terry Gross and all that. I forget what year it was, but it was in the 80s, whatever it was. It may not have been 81, but the point is. She's the best, and
she is the best.
And
the interview that she did with Mark Maron is like one of my favorite interviews of all time.
Right? I mean, because to hear her be candid and put on the spot and talk about her husband and what she's into, like they're like that. It's like wow, I never would have. I don't know. I mean, she was. That was super dope. So,
and I was also surprised about how funny and cute she is. I'm like, you are so entertaining, Terry.
Right?
Oh my god!
Right? Yes. Yeah. To be able to see her personality to shine and then also to be able to fully spar with him and them. It's she's like this is not her first rodeo, but being the guest. She took that uncomfortable place where was able to still be to do that. So no, I was highly impressed with her and obviously the Maron style of doing things of interviews is it speaks for itself. Obviously, if anybody listens to him, so
he was my podcast first love.
You know what he was for me too because I everything I listened to prior to that was just like recorded. Stuff or like because that was before I found This American Life and before I found.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, I used to listen to This American Life before Mark Maron, but Mark Maron, I connected with him in a way that I didn't connect with This American Life. And This American Life is my jam.
Right. Well, yes, exactly. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But I also have a deep love for stand-up comedy, and I just love the way that Mark Maron talks to people. Like he's interested. He wants to get their story. He's a storyteller. He's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
And he's talked a lot about how he has a need for connection, and part of that show is, he's connecting, and obviously he goes in the same linear fashion, and I love stand-up comedy, and to know all the stories about the Comedy Store and everybody. I mean, he talks to everybody and all that. I mean, from to hear, to actually hear it. I almost said JJ. What's my man? I can't think of. Oh shoot, I can't think of from Good Times. I can't think of his real name. Jimmy Walker. There we go. But to hear him and was it Yakov Smirnoff and every Crazy Gallagher. I mean, so his style. So he's definitely an inspiration. And then. I was fortunate to have Jesse Thorne on, who is, I don't know if you mess with Bullseye, public radio like that, but Mark Maron went to Jesse Thorne when he was starting to do his show and had Jesse kind of steer him in the right direction. And so people should check out my episode with Jesse Thorne too. Yeah, no, because
I sure will.
That might be the coolest white boy on the planet. I'm not even there's a lot of cool white cats, but I'm telling you, because
I'm impressed with you right now. I might have to go dig it in your crate.
We got some stuff in there. We have to.
I see.
We got a couple things in there, but I don't. How'd I get on that? So okay, but talking about Maron, right? So my love for Maron, our shared love for Maron. So Brian Koppelman though was on Maron, and he. Discovered Tracy Chapman was telling that story. So I don't have any idea if you first hearing India and your trajectory throughout that is like that.
Like it was yesterday.
So I'm wondering if you could put us there and then take us up through, I guess, up and through Breathe, as best you can with whatever time you have left for me,
Wow, that's a 15-year story.
It was crazy when I looked it up. I can't believe it's been 15 years since Acoustic Soul. I mean, that's when you're getting older, time flies. At least for me, and it's just like I can't. That's so crazy that it's been 15 years. So anyway, so whatever condensed version you have time or feel comfortable giving is cool with me. So.
Well. So I met India before I started my label. India was one of the artists on my label.
Okay. I mentioned it earlier. From pediatric orthopedic surgeon to leaving or suspending college to start a label. So if we can kind of start there with then
it's all the same story.
Okay.
All the same conversation. So I'm about to tell you some of my business. Well, I might not. I might be able to leave that part out. So
I'd much prefer that you tell us, but go ahead.
So I went to Spelman, and I was in Atlanta, and I was a biology major, and I was totally pre-med. I was totally going to medical school, and I was there. And for some reason, after my first year there, I decided I wasn't going to go home. I have no idea why I made that decision, but I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm not coming home for this summer. I'm going to stay here. I have a place to stay. I'm going to just figure it out. And I had to get a job because I needed to eat. And so I applied for this job at a record store, and 2 months after I applied for it, right before school started again, I got this job at Tower Records in Atlanta. And so anybody who's a music lover who used to live in a town where there's a Tower Records knows that Tower Records is a place where people who love music go. We weren't going to Best Buy or Barnes and Noble. People who love music go to Tower Records because they have everything and they have stuff that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, we had Tower Records on Lemon and Lemon Avenue in Dallas. So yes, I miss Tower, the yellow. I miss it. Yes,
I miss it desperately. So I So funny. So I, being like the lover of music that I am, and like the lover of songwriting that I am, like working in Tower Records changed the way that I saw music, because I had access to every possible music I ever could have access to, and it was a place where music lovers came. So like all the artists came there, all the producers came there, all the radio people, like the people who were engaged in music in Atlanta at the time came to Tower Records. So I ended up like becoming, right, wait a minute. And this was like a time where a thing called British Soul was blowing up. So like artists like Omar, Incognito, Vanessa Simon, Jaleesa, Loose In, Soul to Soul, like all these black people in Great Britain who were making the jamminest soul music of life were coming out. And if you've never heard Omar, listeners, go and get his music right now, because nothing funkier than Omar.
Okay.
From London, okay? So
did you say Soul to Soul, like Back to Life? Who's Soul to Soul?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So like if you like who these folks were, just as a unit, like of course they're all their own individuals and they have their own wonderful songs, but if you look at them as a whole, what they were doing, like in this moment of like the kind of like the popularization of hip hop and the creation of like hip hop soul, where it was like Mary J. Blige and like Puffy and all them people, like the way that hip hop started to be infused in melodic music. Like the British soul people had taken like Stevie Wonder and Donny Hathaway and Nina Simone and Minnie Riperton and like turned it on its ear, modernized it, and fed it back to us.
The same way. Did you just say this? But so the same way that the Stones and they took Muddy Waters and all the blues and this. So I guess it's a little different, but yeah. So yeah. So
we're not going there. We're not gonna go there.
Oh, just a question. Just a question. Okay. All right.
No, I would not say that, because it was less of a Ooh, am I about to say that? It was less of a bastardization and more of a continuation of a legacy and an homage.
Right.
And it was like the next generation of like the next iteration of a strong tradition of rhythm and blues music in America. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was like 30 years later, so it was like modern and fresh, and the writing was amazing, and that's what I latched onto. So I became like known in the store in the evenings, at least, because I was in school, so I would work the night shift. So in the daytime it was Michael Strickland, it was Rico, and that's who people would go to and ask about music. But in nighttime and on the weekends it was me.
Okay.
So I was like became the person that the folks who loved soul music and who loved that kind of music would come to me every week and be like, okay, what came out new? What can I buy? What should I buy? What should I buy? So I had a friend who I met who was a DJ at that record stores, because I met, like, at the time, this is a whole other story, but going to Spelman like was a big source of disappointment for me, because like I said, I was like super bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and altruistic, and like, I'm going to the AUC, it's going to be 20,000 young black people, we're going to free the world, we're going to be together. And I got there and they was on some BS, like some super like classist, like, don't date guys from Clark and Morris Brown, only date guys from Morehouse, and don't walk across the street, like in the freshman orientation, don't walk across the street because people in projects might beat you over the head and take your stuff. Like, what? Like, is that what we doing here? I thought we were going to be all free. I thought we were going to free the people up in here. That's not what we doing? Okay, so I didn't hang out on campus a lot. So, like, all of my friends in college, besides my, like, tight group of friends who I'm still friends with now from college, were like, folks who I met at the record store. Because that's where I spent more time in the record store than I spent on campus. I would go to school, go to class, leave, and get out of there. Because I didn't have, like, a lot of people who I really loved or respected or wanted to be around on campus. And so I like hanging out at the record store. And so I met all these people. We became friends. All this wonderful stuff happened.
You had to tell people where the Craig David album was.
I forgot about Craig David.
Monday, took it for a trip on Tuesday. Then we made love by Wednesday. All right, my bad. I can't sing, but yeah. But since you said British soul, I had to shout out to my man Craig David. So you know,
you had to say that.
Yes.
So then it was like, like after Omar and like Jamiroquai, like all folks. Then it was like
I like Jamiroquai. What is a virtual insanity? Yeah, I like Jamiroquai.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I actually remember, I remember the first time I ever heard Jamiroquai's first song on their first album. I remember the moment. I remember the colors. I was just like, music just does something to me. It like touches me deep in my soul. So like I remember these moments with this music, and then it was like, oh wait a minute, Deion Ferris. Oh wait a minute, D'Angelo. Oh wait a minute, Erykah Badu. Oh wait a minute, Spearhead. Oh wait a minute, The Roots. Oh wait a minute. And so like the sound that had jumped over the pond to London had jumped back into America.
I'm trying to get Deion Ferris on the show, again. Right? Yeah, no, I love Deion Ferris, by the way. You know what? She told me she's not doing interviews, and I'm like, damn, man.
This is not an interview; it's a conversation and a way to connect with people. This is not an interview. Come on, Deion.
Okay, see, boom. I'm gonna send that clip to her and say, hey, look, see, this is not an interview, Deion. Darn it. Okay.
I mean, like, I adore that woman.
I do too.
That woman. I adore her. She is like, listen, Deion Ferris is everything to me. Have you ever seen her perform live? Like, did you ever see her, like, when she was, like, when her first album was out and she was touring all that much? Like, that show was, like, one of the best shows I ever saw.
I never saw her live. I've never seen her live, but I'm obsessed and in love with her and have been.
As well, you should be.
So yeah, so that I'm gonna have to send her this part where we're talking about her so she can see what's really going on. But yeah, so and I keep interrupting you, but yeah, you just keep bringing up people and things that resonate with me. So go ahead. Yeah,
it's all one story. So
right.
Anyway, so my friend Jamal Achman, who is a DJ in Atlanta still, he's on WCLK. He has a show called Sounds of Universal Love, and at the time he had a show called Groove Gumbo, which was only on Saturdays. On Saturday it was like 2 to 6 or something like that. Anyway, so Jamal, his job in life was to play new music for me. Okay? So I'm like, I need to know about everything because I want to consume and just eat up and just digest every piece of soul music that ever happened in life. And so he would play and bring me new music. And one day he was like, listen, there's this girl, you have got to see her. You are going to love her. And so there was this art collective in Atlanta called Red Clay, and my friend Tahir and my friend Salah, and a bunch of people were in this art. There was like a literary collective, and they would have these parties called Red Clay parties at these venues, like loft venues in Atlanta. And there was a Red Clay party, and we went to the party, and he was like, wait till you see this girl sing, you're going to die, you're going to love her. And India came out. She had like awesome, what do you call this, corduroy bell bottoms and like an afro wig, and like, her guitar. She had only been playing guitar for 3 months.
What year is this?
Oh God, I'm really bad with time and space, so I can't. I want to say it was 1996, but that might be a lie.
Okay, no worries. Okay.
But if it is a lie, it's not intentional, just because I'm really bad with time and space.
That's all good. No worries.
So, it's like a side effect of being a unicorn. You just don't know how to situate yourself. So,
touche.
So India walks out. She had been playing guitar for 3 months, and she had been only written 3 songs ever in life. And she was still living in Savannah. She was still a student at SCAD, and she opened her mouth, and I bust out crying. like, who is that? What is that voice? What are these words she's saying? What is happening to my life? Like, seriously, I cannot deal. And she sang her 3 songs that she had written, and she walked off the stage, and we went and talked to her, and he introduced me. He was like, this is my friend Anasa, and I was like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You made me cry. You're so blah, 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 blah. And that was it. And then we left. We left the party. And soon after that, I had a friend who started a magazine, and he asked me to help him start the magazine. And so we had it was like art magazine for Atlanta. It was like a little, you know how they have those independent zines now? It was like the auntie of a zine. Okay. It was back in the day before they had those things. So we made it all by hand and scratch. I would be at Kinko's. I had my first job out of college was making maps for this company whose job it was to make maps for the Olympics. They were hired by the city to make maps of all the cities for all the vendors. So during the day, my job was to make maps. And so I would use the computers because I had to learn how to use all the design software. So I would use the design software in the daytime to make maps, and at night, after everybody left, I would be making the magazine on their computers. And so I would be doing the Kinko's thing, doing the things, doing all the printouts, writing all the copy, doing all the layout, doing everything. And so I started to, that expanded my artistic community. The past it was just music, and then I had to expand it because I had to be able to write and build copies for all these other art practices. And so I started to look at art in a different way and also be seen by the arts community in a different way. And so I had a friend whose name was Tony, and we were talking, and he was like, you know what? I have a friend, she's my best friend in the whole wide world. I love her so much, and she's an artist, and she's amazing. And she wants me to manage her, but I don't want to do it. I think that you should do it because I think that you're smart. And I know you never managed anybody before, but you know music and you're smart, and I think that you'll be good at it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll meet her. And it was India. And I was like, holy crap. I saw that girl sing, yup. I know I don't know how to do it, but I'm doing that. And at the time, I was also transitioning out of the magazine because of the business relationship was not a fruitful one for me. And I was laser focused on this music because I got it in my head that music was the path to liberation for our people. And I was I'm going to start an artist collective. I'm going to bring these artists together. We're going to do all art. We're going to start with musicians because I know that word. I know music more than I know anything else. I'm going to start there. I know a bunch of musicians. I know this space. I know I can do this. And so I invited her to be a part of what we were building. And she said yes. And so we had India. We had a band called Jiva, which was very similar to Incognito. So it's this a man named Kari Cabral Simmons in Atlanta, who was the most wonderful person in America, for real, and who is a bass player and a wonderful songwriter and is a wonderful person. And he started this band called It was a 12-piece band with a horn section, a vocal section, all this wonderful dynamic music. It was a duo called Us, which was a cello player and a guitar player, and they both sang a spoken word artist named Brother Son and a woman from D.C. named Monique Miller. And that was our crew, because of course you get a bunch of musicians in the room and you start talking about having an artist collective. They say to you, that's cute that you want to have an artist collective, but we want to make music and be famous and make money as musicians. So I'm excited for you and your little idea, but what we really want to do is this. So if you want to work with us, you need to figure that out. And so I was like, okay, because I believed in what I believed in, and if that was the way I had to do it, I was going to do it that way. And so I called my friend who introduced me to India. We met some other people, and we all got together and started this label. And it was called Earthseed Music because I was, am, and will continue forever to be obsessed with Octavia Butler. And my favorite book that has ever been written is called The Parable of the Sower. And it's about this girl named Lauren Olamina who, the world, it's kind of like lightweight Armageddon. It's the world is changing, the world is crazy, society has devolved into a giant, crazy town, and what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? And this woman sets off with this band of people and looking for her freedom and her salvation. And I identify so much with the character, and what she was doing was also in the struggle to be able to settle and find her own spiritual path, because her father was a pastor, and she was I don't really believe all of it what you're saying, but I want to figure out how to encompass and embrace my spiritual lineage, but in a way that makes sense to me. So she was building this new religion called Earthseed, and it was all you touch you change, all that you change changes you, God is change, we are Earthseed. That was the main mantra of the group. And so that I was I'm Lauren Olamina. Oh my God, Octavia Butler just wrote a book about me because I am looking for a way to express myself spiritually in a way that makes sense to me, that honors my traditions, that honors my ancestry, but also honors my vision and the way that I see the world and the way I see God. I'm looking for salvation and for liberation. I'm with these group of people. We're going on this journey together. Like, let's do it. And so I named the label Earthseed Music after the religion that Octavia Butler created for her character in the book Parable of the Sower. And the story of Earthseed and Groovement, which was the collective, so it was like a for-profit, non-profit structure. So Earthseed was the label, Groovement was the non-profit arts collective, and we did like arts education for young people. We had like a big partnership with this place called the NFL Youth Education Town. So we would like do arts education. I would bring artists in. I wrote a curriculum. I would bring artists in to teach the kids, and we did that for a number of years. And that's so funny. I forgot I did that. I've been doing this same thing this whole time. I thought I was doing something different. That's hilarious. I cracked myself up. Anyway, and India was like obvious that she was the one. You know, like in the group. Because she's a phenom. Like this, she just, along the way we picked up Donnie too. So there was some in and out with the artists, there was some in and out with the partners and all that. But eventually, like it was India and it was Donnie, who I talked about earlier, who did the album, the colored section. And it was like wondering like which one of them was gonna go, because it was like those are the two in the group that were the genius. It was like, whoa. When they got on stage, whoa, when they walked in the room, whoa, when you heard their music, it was like undeniable talent. And India, we did like, have you ever heard of Lilith Fair?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had.
It's like Paula Cole and all them back in the day. Not Paula, maybe not Paula.
It was Sarah McLaughlin.
There we go. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was her vision, and she like had this tour with all female artists, Lilith Fair. So somebody who we worked with got India 2 dates on Lilith Fair tour. So this is like after we recorded all this music, I learned how to produce shows. I learned how to do marketing. I we did the whole thing, because there was nobody who was going to support us, because like nobody understood the music we were doing, because it was an extension of R&B and soul. So it was like the legacy of Stevie Wonder, the legacy of Donny Hathaway, the legacy of Minnie Riperton, pushed forward by British soul, pushed forward by American neo soul, as it was becoming called, because whatever. Thank you, Kadar, for that. So we got on Lilith Fair. We did 2 days. I think it was Detroit. No, it was not Detroit. I made that up. It was someplace in the Midwest, and it was Nashville was the other date that we got. And so we had these recordings, because we had been recording music. So we recorded like 3 or 4 songs from each artist. We put out an EP. We put out a compilation. And I took India's music, and I took everything that we had done for her, and my business partner at the time, who was one of the musicians, we went to Nashville, and we just like knocked on every possible door we possibly could find. And we went to ASCAP, because we had a good relationship with ASCAP. We played the music for one of the people. We did the show, and then we went home. And apparently the guy who we gave the music to at ASCAP gave the music to a woman who was an A&R who lived in Nashville, but who had a relationship with Universal Music in New York. And then she started looking for India. She was like looking for her everywhere, looking. And then they finally met, and then she presented it to the head of Universal, who then was like, I think we need to go talk to Kadar Massenberg, because that's what they do. They give the black artist to the black executive.
Right.
And Kadar had put out, had worked with D'Angelo, had worked with Erykah Badu, and had coined the phrase neo soul.
Okay.
And everybody was like, "Oh, India's neo soul, so let's put her over in neo soul."
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because that's what happens in the music industry. You black, you go with the black people.
Right.
I don't care if you don't do music like them. You black, so you go over there.
they don't understand that we're not a monolith, right? Okay.
They don't understand that. No matter what, even if you walk in with a head wrap and a guitar, they still think you're a little Kim. But whatever. It's cool. Not cool.
Oh,
whatever.
gosh.
So anyway,
Okay.
So India decided to Motown. I was like, she was like, well, I don't like to tell this part in public, because then it's still like a little, So anyway, we decided to part ways. because I felt very so half of me wants to say I felt obligated to the rest of the artists. I didn't feel like I could leave them. I didn't want to be able to abandon this thing that I had created, this dream that I had. And the other half of me is like, I actually was scared. Like, it was a scary thing to have to go into this world and deal with these people who were like not nice people, not people who cared anything about what I wanted or what I wanted to do, or what my dream was, or what my vision was. And so she went off to like go into that world, and I stayed behind to be able to finish what I started.
Right. Okay.
And you know, because we did not only work together, we were actually friends, and so the separation was difficult for both of us because we have been working together for, you know, however many years. I had never done what I was doing without her, and she had never done what she was doing without me, and we were friends.
Okay.
And so it was a hard time, and we both had to keep moving because we had stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, she had to make a record, and I had to finish making records for all these other people. And so, let me think about this. So then, like, probably halfway through her making her record, we, like, reconnected and started to talk, and we started to, like, unearth some things that were going on my end and on her end that neither one of us were aware of, and that I won't go into because I don't want to tell her business. I'm only going to tell you mine.
Okay, all right.
And
we'll do that next episode.
and we started started the work of trying to repair our friendship and our connection in our work relationship, right? Because it's like,
well, can I ask you, was there bitterness, or was there just, without being specific, it was just, hey, you've got this opportunity, you need, but I've got these other people I committed to, and I need to make sure they can fly and flourish like you are, and yep. She had to go move forward and do her thing. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
That's exactly what it was. It wasn't like it was like I mean my what's the word? I don't know the word, but the feelings that I had were like, I felt so obligated and so like, I can't leave them. Like, that's how I felt. Like, I can't leave them. I can't do that to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And she was like, I can.
Right.
Later.
Deuces. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, and at the time, the rest of the artists were angry with her for that. Like, there was a lot of anger and a lot of jealousy is not the word, because it wasn't jealousy. It was like, oh my gosh, she left us. But what people didn't know was that India's mother, when she was 14, she was 16, she had a 14-piece band.
Oh, okay.
India's mother is a freaking genius. India's mother is a singing tail, sewing tail, painting tail, cooking tail lady. Like, that lady is amazing. And when she was 16, she had a 14-piece band. She, like, made everybody outfits. They were killing the game. And they opened up for Stevie Wonder and all this. And Motown wanted to sign her mom.
Oh, wow.
And her mom was like, no. They wanted to sign her and for her to be a part of Martha and the Vandellas. And they were like, you're too young to be a part of that group, but like, we'll make you a solo act. Like, just come. Like, leave your band. Come and be with us. Like, we are Motown. Just say yes. And she said no because she would leave her band. And so when India got approached by Motown, how ironic, how many years later,
right.
and she was like, I can't do this. I have this community of people that I'm with. I have to do this. Her mom was like, let me tell you something. You sign that deal, and you make it, and you go back for them later on. But do you want to sit?
Okay.
Like, do you want to be? Is this where you want to be your whole life in Atlanta, or do you want to go and do your music as a living? And so she listened to her mother's advice, and she, like everybody else, would have done the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe in my heart that any one of those artists had been presented with the same opportunity, and their mother came to them and said, let me tell you my story and how I wanted to be this. And I said no when I had the chance, and I regretted it ever since, and this is what my life is now. That every one of them would have done the same thing.
Of course, right.
You know? And the problem wasn't that she did that. The problem was that there were forces at work that kept her from us when it was, you know, because when you do that, like on their end, they're like, they try to isolate you. That's what they do. That's what you do in the music industry. You get somebody young, you isolate them from their friends and family, and you control and shape and build them in the way that you need to in order for them to have the career that you want them to have. So we were out of touch for a long time until she was like, you know what, this is crazy. And she called me and we had a talk, and I ended up like coming back, working with her, and going on tour with her with Sade. That's how I ended up on the Sade tour.
That was to promote Acoustic Soul when it first came out. Okay, I just looked at the list of songs on that again. Man, I forget that all of these songs were on that. I mean, like from
on one album.
I mean, you know, like obviously Video. I mean, that's why I first saw that video. But Brown Skin, Strength, Courage, and Wisdom.
That's my song.
Back to the Middle, because Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. It's been inside of me all. I can sing that song right now. Like I know that whole song. Like that song was so powerful to me. And then, I mean, Ready for Love, always in my head. Good Lord, Simple. Anyway, all right. You know all the songs. I don't have to tell you, but
when those songs first came out, India told me that Back to the Middle, the first verse was about me, and the second verse was about one of my friends, so I introduced her to.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I need to listen to Back to the Middle then. Interesting. Okay. Let's go back. Yeah, let's go. You know what? That's funny because I feel like that title, just knowing a very small amount of you all's backstory, I can project and say, okay, I could get how that title could have to deal with an actual, because I don't remember the lyrics offhand specifically, but okay, interesting. All right.
I mean, the album didn't get 7 Grammy nominations for nothing.
I don't disagree.
You know
now let me ask you this: Am I tripping? Okay, so how many Grammys did she win that year?
0.
Okay, see now. Okay, now my memory. I'm getting older, and so now.
That year, she was nominated for 7 Grammys, and Alicia Keys was nominated for.
I was so pissed. I was so pissed that year. I remember.
A lot of people were pissed.
I was so pissed, but you all okay? So let's. I don't know what you can say or how, but so how can you talk about that? Like being nominated for 7, you win none, and at least, I mean, like how. I think I've heard India actually talk about that.
Yeah, she's
since then.
Quite a few times.
Okay, so but,
I mean, imagine if you're like 23 years old. You've been wanting to sing your whole life. You finally make a record. You don't think it's going to do anything, and then you get 7 Grammy nominations, and you're gassed all the way up, and then you go, and you're publicly humiliated because you win 0. And at the same time, people are creating a conversation about you against this other woman and trying to create this like, well, it's because she's light skinned, it's because she's this, it's because she's that, and like you don't get to just have your experience. You just
right.
Like that's devastating. If any one of those things on its own would be devastating, but all of that together, and it's all in public, that's crazy.
And I like that Alicia Keys album. That's a really good album. And I remember, you know what? I can remember that was a summer. Yeah, I lived in Phoenix. Yeah, I know exactly where I was. But I really like that album. But that India album, no, you could. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so
but that's the argument because like I actually did not like that Alicia Keys album, and it was like not because I don't like her because she's done things since that I love, but the production on that record it was like so bad to me. The sound let me take it back. It wasn't the production; it was like the sounds that they use, like the patches that they use on the keyboards and stuff, and the drum sounds. They were too thin. They didn't have any body. They didn't have any like. To me, it was like I couldn't feel that record. You know what I mean? Like I just couldn't feel it, and I don't believe. But just at the same time, it's like difficult. Like imagine if you're Alicia Keys and you did the same thing. You're at this age. You spent your whole life trying to make music. You found like because she had a deal, then she lost the deal. She had another deal. Like Alicia Keys went through it before her first album came out. And you finally make it. You finally make a record. You finally get acknowledged, and everybody's saying that you're about to win because you're light skinned. Like, imagine how that felt for her. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have these two women who have these stories that in a lot of ways are the same, and in a lot of ways are different, and they're not allowed to have their humanity because they become sensationalized in this light skin, dark skin conversation. When like this is their life, it is their music, it is their passion, it is their voice, and whether you like it or not, like these are people. These are people, and the conversation got real low, real quick about the two of them, you know? And I think as a result, didn't allow either one of them to fully experience what they needed to in that moment around that time to be able to, like, you know, just really have it be what they needed to be.
Right. No, I can see that. I never thought about that. I mean, I just remember, like I said, being a little irritated, but yeah, but thinking about all the things that.
Everybody was irritated.
Right. But thinking about all the, and I'm sure back at the time I was conscious of all, you know, the looks, and not looks, but I mean, skin tone, I guess is what I'm meaning to say.
And I'm not even saying that that's not what happened. And I'm also not saying that it was politics and the forces inside the music industry that did that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was, do I think it was intentional? Absolutely. I think it was intentional. Do I think that it was like because the world at large looked at Alicia one way and the world at large looked at India the other day? I don't think that. I think that it was totally industry politics and, you know, things that we don't need to talk about in this forum.
Okay.
You know, like I said, the music industry is crazy. It's like a crazy place. You know what I mean? And
okay.
Nothing is as it seems. And even if you think it's because your neighbors don't like brown-skinned girls, there's probably something else at play. And that doesn't mean your neighbors don't like brown-skinned girls, because they very well may not like them. But that ain't why she didn't win no Grammy.
Okay, well, then why didn't she win the Grammys?
Well, just, you know, that's not for me to say.
Okay. All right. Hey, well, I got to ask the questions. Okay. I mean,
you do have to
I got to ask the questions. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, okay. Well, speaking of asking questions, I don't know, man. I think, so India's career, so the Grammys, and then obviously there's another 15 years that goes on through there. So I don't know if there's some highlights you want to touch on, or if it's this ever evolving thing that is just, I mean, obviously her career. So, I mean, you all's career together. So let me ask you, do you look at it like, where's your line as far as how connected are you all? If that, you know what I'm saying? You know, as far as ownership of, you know, her success and her career and your success and your career. And obviously one has to, I'm sure you both would thrive today had you not met one another.
But our stories are absolutely inextricably linked.
Right.
Sure.
So I'm just curious, and it probably doesn't even matter, but when you look at your success and her success and together, how do you judge that, or do you?
That's an interesting question, because I don't think of it like that.
Okay.
Because so much of my relationship with her, or my work with her, is about our personal relationship, because India is one of my best friends.
Okay.
And I've known her for, 20 years. You know what I mean? And when we met, we were both kids. Like, we were kids when we met. And not only kids in, like, the age sense, like, in the chronological or physical sense, but we also were, like, children spiritually and children emotionally and children in our careers. And we were, like, it's, that thing, like, when people say that you're grown when you turn 18 or you turn 21, but you're actually a kid.
Yes, I mean? Right. Of course.
It's funny, I tell people, I grew up in New Jersey, but I became a woman in Atlanta, because that leap that you make from like 18 or 19 to 25 or 27 or 28 when you go through your Saturn return astrologically, like, that is like, you make a quantum leap in those years. And you realize when you're, when you get into your 30s, that when you were 18 and 19 and 20, you thought you were grown, but you didn't really know anything.
Right, exactly.
We met in that period when we thought we knew everything, but we didn't really know jack. And, like, when you have that kind of history with someone, and not only have you known each other for that long, but also, like, the things that we went through, both creatively and from a business standpoint and with our friendship, are the kinds of things that either makes you committed to somebody for life or makes you never talk to them again.
Okay, all right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
That's just what it is, and it's about like how you come out on the other side depends on the way that you handle it when you're in it, and the kind of your willingness to be honest and vulnerable and accountable to your friendship and to your connection. Now, also clear that India and I are connected spiritually, and we were like having an agreement on this planet to work together and to be together and to move each other's mission and life forward, right? And like we also like our professional relationship is as intense as our friendship. So we have conference calls. We have to be like, okay, now's our personal time. We'll just talk, we'll gossip, we'll talk about boys, we'll talk about, the new movie, the book that we read, like, because we're friends, like we're actual friends.
Right, okay.
And then we're like, okay, so now I'm going to call you, I'm going to hang up, I'm going to call you back in 10 minutes, and we're going to talk about work.
Okay, good. Okay.
Then we have an equally intense and equally long session about work, because, like, it's important for us to be able to, like, we can't not honor both things.
Right. No, I get that.
Because, like, you have people who are, like, your work friends, but then you have people who you work with who you are actually friends with.
Of course, right.
And that's, like, our relationship. And, I mean, I don't know who each of us would be without the influence and impact of the other. Like, I mean, the reason why she ended up at Universal is because of that trip I made to Nashville, and because I banged on every door I possibly could think of. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And at the same time, like I wouldn't. The reason why we're working together again now is because I'm sure that people who know her work and who know her story have heard about like her 2009 when she like quit the industry and she fired everybody and she was like, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. This is the whack. It's not how I want it to be. Well, when she decided to come back, when she fired everybody, she called me and was like, I just fired my manager. I fired everybody else. I'm leaving. I don't know what to do. I need you to help me. And I told her, no, I'm not helping you because I left the music industry on purpose because all y'all are crazy and all them executives are mean and they don't care about what I care about. And I found a place in this political world where I feel honored, I feel seen, I feel respected. I feel like the work I want to do is possible. I feel like the impact I want to have is possible. And I'm not interested in going back into that space. And she said, okay. And then I thought about it, and I was like, what are you doing? That's your friend. Your friend just called you for help. Your friend is at the bottom in a place that she's never been in her life. She needs you. Like, what are you doing? Why would you tell her no? Like, what kind of a jerk face are you?
Jerk face.
And so, like, and then she took some time off, and she came back, and and we came back together, and I was supposed to help her, like, for a few months. I was like, I'm going to help you for a couple months. I'm going to help you put your team together. I'm going to help you build your new strategy, and I'm going back to my life, and that was, like, almost 6 years ago. And here we are, because I got in there, and I was like, oh, I actually am not afraid anymore. Like, I'm actually not the person I was when I was 23 and I was 25 and I was 20, whatever. I'm actually clear about who I am. I'm much clearer about my skill, my value, my commitment to my vision. And I actually can go in the room with these people who are still treacherous. They're still the same people, but I'm not the same person. Okay. And so I don't need to go in and for a few months and just figure it out for you and leave and go back to my life. I actually can find a place in this room, and I can find a space in this industry where I can actually add to the work that I'm doing in the political space. I actually can do both things. I can have direct impact over here, and I also can work with artists who I believe in and who share my values over here. And then I have a comprehensive approach to social, political, and spiritual transformation through art. And I actually can stand by my friend and help her articulate and translate her creative and spiritual vision to people who do not understand her at all. Like, if you, like, people who are record executives meet and talk to India and do not have any clue what she's talking about. Because who she is as an artist is so far out of the range of what happens in that space. Like, they don't know what to do. So, like, for me to be able to have the honor of standing by her side and being able to be a bridge for her between the people who are on her creative team and the people who have to figure out how to make that creativity exist in the marketplace that does not ascribe to her vision, her values, or her aesthetic is like an important thing for somebody to do. So, you know, I have trouble separating the conversation, even with the years that we didn't work together. But it's more because of our connection, our spiritual commitment, and our commitment to our vision than it is about what people will call the work. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. I get that. So have you ever had an official title or like what is, or
I've
your,
had many.
okay.
I've had everyone.
Yeah. This is all very fast. Like I could literally talk to you forever about just like the day to day and talking to whom and knocking on these doors. And, you know, I know labels can be important, especially in the entertainment industry and people's specific roles, you know, managers and agents and publicists and just the ride or die or whatever. So do you have a specific title with, I assume it never probably mattered for you and you all's relationship, but I'm just curious if, you know, if your role needed to be defined, or has it always been good where it is?
You know, that is like been an ongoing conversation for us since I came back to work with her 6 years ago. Because it didn't matter at first, but it mattered when we had to interact with other people.
Okay.
Because it's one thing for us, like, you're my friend, you're helping me, and we're doing this, and we have this belief, we believe in love, and we're spiritual beings, and we want to do this. It's different when we're, like, in the kitchen planning, but when you go and you walk into a room in a world that cares very much about status and title and all the stuff, you have to figure it out. And part of the challenge for me over the years has been I don't fit in that world. Like, I don't fit in that world. And I don't fit, like, and the thing that we're building, it doesn't really fit in that world either, you know? So, like, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is, like, how we shift her brand from, like, music entertainment to really more, like, spiritual teacher. Because really she's more like ELoveate than she is, like, Foxy Brown, or that's totally Foxy Brown. Who says Foxy Brown? It's like 2016.
I was about to say, I get the reference, but yes.
I was thinking about that other girl whose name I can't remember. With the what's her name? Oh Lord, that's crazy. This is my brain.
I'm really
that girl who wears all the different color fur and, like, you know, she's like the 21st century Little Kim. What's her name?
I don't.
Come on, you know.
Where's all the fur?
Not Beyonce, but the other one.
Let's see, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj. Who you talking? Okay,
Nicki Minaj with the fake booty.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't even know the point I was making, but right. So it's like, that just gave you a window into who I am. I'm like, what's that girl?
Yeah, right. Well, and I thought
that everyone knows.
I thought you were talking about her, but you threw me off when you said all the. Initially, I was going to say Nicki Minaj, but then you said all the fur, and I was like, wait, she wears a lot of fur. And then I was really thrown off. But yes, she.
It's okay. Maybe she's weird. Maybe I just saw her.
No, she. Who knows? Yes, right. Yes,
anyway,
I got you.
My point. I don't even remember. What was my point? What was I talking about?
We were talking about. Let's see. I think India's image versus. You brought up Foxy Brown for what? God dog it, but what reason?
That weird? So weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm sure. You know what? I'm sure it was a great point too.
It was a great point, and then I just distracted both of us. We trying to figure out who Nicki Minaj is.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway,
Yes.
I think the point is that she is. Oh right, I said she's more like ELoveate than
yes,
like Nicki Minaj.
yes.
So, like,
changed my life.
Really, like, right. I mean, like, if Deepak Chopra or if Oprah or if ELoveate could sing, she's more like that than she is if Nicki Minaj could get on the stage and give a speech. You know what I'm saying? And so part of the journey with her over the past 2 years has been like where does this work actually belong? Where does it actually thrive? Where are the people who actually understand, want it, and want to engage in it in a meaningful way? And part of that journey for us internally has been like, what is my actual role in that? Not what's my role, but what do you call it? Because what I do and who I am and what my skill set and my history and my experience is not one that is traditionally found in the music world, or really in a lot of other worlds either. Because to be able to have somebody who who is creative and who understands the creative process, but who also is like really deep into strategy, and also is also intuitive, and also has experience in the music industry, and also has experience in organizing in politics. Like that's not a something that you come by every day in a set of skills and experiences, right? And the other thing about me is that I have a very hard time compartmentalizing. So if you come to me and you start asking me about one aspect of your creativity or one aspect of your business, I'm going to ask you questions and make you tell me everything, because I have trouble thinking in a vacuum. And so like I just don't necessarily fit into any of the boxes or any of the things. And what I'm learning about myself now is that really what I am is a producer.
Okay.
So like somebody who is able to like listen to your vision, help you take it from an idea to a real life thing, and then also give you advice about how to make that thing go out to the world. Like that's what producers do. But I never had that language because I wasn't close enough to that world to be able to know what that meant, because we're in music, and in music, a producer is something different than a producer is in film, TV, or stage, or something else.
Exactly. You know, one of my questions is for you, or was for you. It's the producer role takes on various shapes in entertainment. So what has that looked like for you exactly?
Right.
I really had that question. So that's funny.
So it's been difficult because I like the person I am, like as a producer, is not normal in the music industry. And I've been in the music industry and I've been in politics, and that's not a role that shows up in that way in those spaces. And so I've been doing something that people do, but doing it in a space that doesn't happen that way, and been like feeling like I have to make it up as I go along.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because that's what I've been doing all this time. I've just been making stuff up as I go along. Right.
Well, that says a lot about you, and clearly has and is paying off. So the idea that you're just making it up, but
I mean, I honestly feel like it's just now starting to pay off. Just now, like literally, like yesterday.
But that's great though, because you've experienced some level of success and a lot of growth, but to be at this time in starting this season to be like, no, cool, I'm just now hitting my stride, because I can from a much smaller scale understand and appreciate that sentiment. So yeah, no, I get that perfectly. All of that is good, but it's behind you and in the moment. And like yesterday was boom. Like okay, it's only getting better. So that leads to
it is getting better.
So what's on the horizon for you? Right, you got Selectricity. I want you to to mention that, because I saw you talking about that, and I immediately thought of one young lady. She has a show called the Dope Science Show, and I thought of her. But anyway, so what's on the horizon, and Selectricity, and and then we can get out of here.
This is like full circle for our conversation, because in the beginning we talked about ELoveate, and ELoveate really is like an expression of who I am as a mature, grown woman in the business. So, like Earthseed and Groovement and all the stuff I used to do is like young, unsure, immature Anasa, and like ELoveate is like grown ass Anasa, like
okay.
the woman who like is clear. Because I also, the one thing we didn't talk about is like my journey in my relationship with my creativity and being able to claim myself as an artist. Like that is 2 episodes in and of itself.
It is, because I want to talk about your writing too. I had that down, but we've already there's just not enough time. Right, there's just not enough time. So yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. So so ELoveate is like what happens when I am in some instances courageous, in some instances just unafraid with no need for courage because I'm just not scared, and like fully in my creativity, like fully self-expressed in terms of my ideas, fully self-expressed in terms of my ability to build strategy, and fully like engaged in humanity and excited to talk to people and meet people and like build and create with people is what's happening right now. And I have started to like the models that I started way back when with Grammy and India.Arie is like also matured. So I've like had how many years of experience. I had the fellowship. I've had time to think and experiment. And so like ELoveate is truly the manifestation of me as a fully mature human being, African American woman with the history I have as an artist and a producer and a writer and a creator. And so I've started to create these projects that have the full expression of art and entertainment and the full expression of organizing and the political stuff, because I'm still on this quest for freedom, like for me and for everybody else. Like I'm still on that quest, and I still believe that art and creativity is the way to do that. And I say sometimes, like kind of tongue in cheek, but like if I thought that herding elephants was the way to liberation, I'd be having a whole bunch of elephants. but I actually do think that it's art and culture and creativity. Like I honestly believe that, and so ELoveate is my attempt. And my contribution to liberation through being able to take these artistic practices and these artistic products, and then where you get like using them to create the broad messaging, using them to create like the sentiment, to be able to create a public discourse, and then combining that with real sound strategic movement building works. And then you can take those messages that have been established in the broad space and take them deep and take them into community and take them into people's homes and have them actually be able to not just resonate on the top level, but actually be integrated on the levels underneath that. So then that's how you have systemic change, in my opinion. And that is how the shifts in public policy and the shifts in community practice become a natural evolution and natural extension of who we're becoming as a people, as a nation, as a globe, and not like this crazy political dogfight that we're in right now, because we tried to change the policies without changing the culture. Like our country never actually changed. We never actually had a conversation about race. We never have actually had a conversation about gender. We just elected somebody who looked like they were progressive and tried to change all these laws. Meanwhile, everybody else was like, "Oh hell no, no you don't. That's not who we are." You know what I'm saying? So like, this is ELoveate is my attempt to make our evolution, our transformation more natural and more at ease and more elegant and more systemic and more long lasting, you know? And so I have She Electricity, which is a project that we launched a few months ago. And it is really about telling the stories of women in the entertainment industry and then leveraging the finances, the resources, the visibility to be able to support a conversation with Black and brown girls about their own ability to innovate. So like there's all these programs now where they're teaching girls to code and they're like teaching like all this technology to girls, but those programs are not teaching them to be innovators. They're teaching them to be able to work in the technological workforce.
Right.
What I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So it's like you can have the technology, but if you don't have the creativity, then you cannot innovate. All you can do is do what the person tells. Like, I need you to work in this place. We're doing this technology, which is fine. I'm not degrading that, because there obviously need to be people who can do that work, and obviously our workforce is behind in terms of being able to keep up technologically, and so like obviously we need that to happen, but we also need people who can use the technology as new solutions to the issues that face us, both socially and scientifically. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
of course.
I don't want you to regurgitate the action. I want you to reapply the action in a new way that's going to create a new solution. It's going to create new jobs. It's going to create new all kind of stuff. And so we have are building a curriculum that includes that includes the technology, includes the art practice and the creativity, but also includes like the self-esteem and self-love and self-development and like career development. So we're like infusing these middle school and high school girls with information about entrepreneurship, about all the different ways you can work in the technological and entertainment and art fields, all the different ways you can express yourself over time. And hopefully we will be helping to cultivate women who are bold and strong and able to innovate, and also like not only have the new ideas but have the confidence to be like, I have a new idea and you need to listen. Because I used to have great ideas and I would never tell anybody because I was afraid nobody would listen.
Right. No, that's powerful. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and as a father of two daughters, that
then you already know.
Yeah, that's how one. Yeah, one is 13 and one is about to be 6. So
wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So yeah, so I love. Well, yeah, I love to hear this, and I love to hear it, from you specifically, for sure. So I'm glad we
and then, like,
got
on
there.
The entertainment side, it's like a TV show, like all these women coming together to tell the stories about what it means to be a woman in the modern age, and there's a music component and a tour. We're actually about to launch an event here in Nashville called She Stories, where we're like bringing together women from the music industry to be able to tell their stories. We had a big brunch a couple months ago with all these women, and they're like, "There's no space for us to come together as women," and it's like for women. Oh man, whole nother podcast. So, I mean, like being a woman in our society in general is very difficult in some ways. It's like a place where, for some of us, the feeling of safety is never really there because of the way that women are seen and the way that women are treated.
Right.
And like, if you take that feeling and you put it inside the music industry, it's like times 100.
Right.
Like I had a woman at the brunch who said to the group, like, I have a husband and 2 kids, and I feel like when I go into the studio, I have to lie about my family because all the men try to hit on me, all the men want to sleep with me, and I feel like if I tell them I have a family, no one's going to give me any work.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like somebody, that's real. And so, like, we are doing this series next year to be able to bring these women together so that they, have space to be able to share, to be vulnerable, to strengthen, to like figure out how to get through this stuff in a way where you have support. Because that's not, that's not cool. Not cool.
No,
not cool.
No, not at all. I mean, the value and being able to share that in a safe place and fully and be heard, because it's one thing to woman to woman, but the more that intelligent people get to hear things and are receptive to them, then it should be a catalyst for change, like you're talking about with to really bring it full circle with Kucinich and the message and getting it out there and being a part, putting it out there into the ethos so that we can be conscious of it is extremely important. So obviously I'm a fan of you and the things that you've touched and are doing, and I look forward to see what you have coming up. So definitely want to check that out and continue to follow you. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So
I want to tell you about some stuff that India is doing too, and I want to
for sure.
One more project.
Yeah.
So like we India, just this week we put out the single "Breathe" that we talked about earlier that she performed on the Soul Train Awards.
Mm-hmm.
We actually put out the song officially. It's up on iTunes, and we also have put out the video, an official video for it that's really beautiful. And so next year we're going to follow that up with an EP in the spring, and then she'll be doing a whole new record in the fall. We're going to do a whole campaign around this idea of worthy. So if you look at the video for Breathe, everybody has on these T-shirts that say worthy, and it's really about like starting a conversation about people's self-worth and like about how you get to define yourself and the fact that you are worthy and you matter because you exist, and that people don't have to do anything. Like if you're born, then you have value. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. It doesn't matter what's been done to you or what you've done to other people. Like, we are all human. We all have value. We all have worth. And we all are worthy of love and support and freedom. Again, here goes that word. You know what I mean? And so, like, we're also, like, figuring out how to how to transform her performance into a teaching mechanism. So she doesn't really do concerts anymore. She does these things called songversations, which is obviously part conversation, part music. And we're now turning that songversation into a songversation practice curriculum. So not only will it be like on the big stage in the music hall, but also in classrooms, in groups of artists, in groups of people who are doing spiritual work, so that we can now figure out how to support them and giving them the practice that India has used all these years in her creative process, so that you can now use it in your own creative process and be able to get not only the benefit of the creativity, but also the healing from your own creative process. You know what I'm saying? And so that is some really exciting stuff that we're doing with her. I'm also about to launch another project that's really about this conversation about love as a core value, as part of ELoveate. Which is super, super exciting. And we also have just now expanded our music division at ELoveate. So now we have a whole division called ELoveate Music, which is where we're doing the work with Sekou. We're doing some work around publishing. We're doing putting out some other records and working with some other artists. And so there's all kind of wonderful things. And the thing that is so exciting about a Donald Trump presidency is that so many people are activated right now. Right. So many people are like, you know what? I've been quiet all this time, and I've let a lot of stuff happen, but this right here, this is not acceptable, and I need to figure out how I can be a part of the conversation. So if anything happens good out of that, it's that people are ready to work. And I have gotten so many people who are stepping up and who also understand the power of narrative and the power of story, and this conversation about you cannot change our political infrastructure by being wonky and being all policy heavy and having these conversations. People need to connect as human beings and as people, and we do that through story. That's how human beings connect, is through learning each other's stories and being able to get to know each other, be able to see past the things that you think you know about someone. And so it's time for us to be able to do that with each other, and it's time for us to do that through this art and through these stories and this music, because that's what's going to change it. That's what's going to change the game. That's what's going to shift our culture so that we can actually have what we want. If you ask me, which I guess you did, because I'm on your podcast.
Of course, I did. I told you, it's all about you. It's all about you.
If only that were true.
Yeah, no. Well, at least for this 3.5, in
Have
this.
we been talking 3.5 hours?
Yes, and for this selected space, I'm only mentioning just because it's amazing that it's gone. This will be our first 2-parter episode, I'm sure, because I don't think I can. I'm going to have to figure out a way to break this up, but it's such a good, not heavy, that's the wrong term, a conversation with a lot of depth. That's a better way to say it. And I'm glad that we did pretty much everything I wanted to. And there's so many things that we could go deeper on. So no, you answered and told, and it's all about your point of view and perspective. You answered the question, all the questions very well, and offered up a tremendous amount. So I really, really appreciate you coming on and you being candid and all of your time. And in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, well, when can I have her back on? And we got all this other stuff we got to talk about too. So we'll have to let this one breathe, and then we'll have to link back up for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think we covered most of it? You think we got most of it out there in this conversation?
I think so, but I have to be honest, I have no idea what I said. I'm just over here talking.
Right? No, well, I tell you, when you hear it, I think you'll be pleased, and I know our audience will get something out of it.
I love this kind of conversation. I really do. I think we need, it's time for us to be talking,
Right. Yeah. No. It's time, and this conversation will beget. The point of this show is to have these kind of conversations with notable people who are engaged in our culture, and the arts, social justice, the arts, and our culture is the 3 things that we usually talk about in whatever way we can. So I love that we were able to connect with you, and I think we did that. We literally, from music and our people and proper use of pronouns and Trump and everything else we hit on. So I love it. It's exactly what I wanted.
I have to interrupt you one more
sure.
time. Because this thing keeps coming up in my mind, and I just feel like I want to share it, because I'm on the board of a museum here in Nashville. It's called the National Museum of African American Music.
Okay.
And it's not open yet. It won't be open for 2 more years. But like, I think that it's important for us to also be having conversations about our cultural institutions.
Okay.
And having conversations about our cultural institutions that not only tell the history, but also are shaping culture in the future. Because the name of the game right now is shifting and shaping culture. That's like, if you guys who are listening don't remember anything else that I said, remember that the work that we have in front of us is to shift and shape our culture. And I don't mean not just African American culture, that absolutely, but also like our national culture and our global culture. And we have to shift from a culture of what it is to one where our core value is one of love. And we are really figuring out how to be able to create art, create culture, create conversation, create connection that is based in love, that is based in the value and the vision that we have for each other, and the fact that we all are here on this planet together, to be together, to live together, to figure out how to get free. You know what I'm saying? Like freedom, love and freedom. That's what we need to be talking about. And I'm proud to be associated with places like the museum, where that's important, because we have to have institutions in our community that uphold these conversations and facilitate these conversations and create space for these conversations. And so I just want to leave people with that. Like, it's all about love and freedom, and you got to find the spaces that give you permission and give you space and give you agency to have those things happen in your life, in your community, in your family, because that's how we're going to make it.
Right, I co-sign on that. Okay, that's a good place to wrap this one. I guess so.
I guess it's a good place as any.
Right, yeah, because if not, we'll keep going. So we might as well.
I had a great time. Thank you so much. That was so fun. I can't wait to come back and talk about Star Wars. That's going to be a jam episode too.
It is, yes. It will. So I agree. Thanks so much for coming on. If I could just get one last thing from you.
Sure.
Our audio autograph, if you could identify yourself, and if you want to, say who you are, what you represent, anything, and then say that you're a part of the vocal minority. We'll keep that and play that in perpetuity here to prove that we had on some interesting and fascinating people. So so if you want to do that, and then
that's so funny. I don't think I've ever done a drop before. Let's do it.
Oh, and I forget to see your industry, so I could say drop and you get it right. So so I need a liner, I need a drop. Right.
That's dope.
Yeah. So yes.
What do you want me to say? This is Anasa Troutman, and I am part of the vocal minority.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And if you want to throw in like ELoveate, if you want to throw in what you represent or anything, that's perfect.
Yes.
Or however you want to do it.
Let's do it again. Hold on. Let me think. Wait a minute. I'm not ready.
No, it's the show is your canvas. Take your time. I guess you're a writer, so it's your notebook or your whatever. Yeah.
Where I'm trying to, but I don't have to do all that. I'm just going to say, this is Anasa Troutman from ELoveate. I believe in love. I believe in freedom. And I'm part of the vocal minority.
Nailed it. Look at that. Beautiful. I appreciate it. For your first time, I couldn't even tell. Look at that. Look at that. That was a true professional. Appreciate it. So, okay, cool. All right. Well, then that's all I have for you.
Okay.
Show wise, but so
thank you.
No, thank you so much for coming on.
Everybody's free.
Hey, welcome back. Wow, what another extravaganza we had with Anasa. That except about 2.5 total hours, actually a little bit more than that, and then I won't even tell you guys about the additional time we spent after that recording, keeping the conversation going. So trust me, there will definitely be additional shows coming up, and I think the Star Wars idea and a couple other things we discussed, there might be some things that we can do to elevate together perhaps. So stay tuned for a lot of big things coming in 2017. Once again, thanks to everyone who downloads. Make sure you check out our website, thevocalminorityReport.com. Especially go to contribute, do our quick anonymous survey, go to store, cop a shirt. That'll help the show. You can show off. We're going to add new styles for 2017, new spring styles coming out, and just more designs, especially for the ladies. And we really need you to go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. Believe it or not, that is like the largest way to help us get noticed, and that would really help us grow. So even if you don't listen through iTunes podcast app, you can still just go to iTunes, put the Vocal Minority Report in the search bar, and it'll come up. You can click on it, and you can see, it should be pretty clear how to leave a rating and review. It would really help us out. Thanks for listening. We'll holler at you next episode. All power to the people. Peace.
This has been a Vocal Neighbors production.